The American West is burning. 20 wildfires have scorched large swaths of California, consuming houses and forcing hundreds to flee for their lives. In Alaska, forest fires have devoured more than 2 million hectares. Parts of western Canada are engulfed in huge fires as well. Years of relentless drought have left western woodlands tinder dry, drained water reservoirs, and led to emergency conserve water orders in several states. Against this backdrop, U.S. President Barack Obama is unveiling a sweeping new energy policy that would sharply cut greenhouse gas emissions linked to global warming.
Share this message with your friends and family.
Obama spoke about the need to take action in a memo to the American people posted on Facebook.
Climate change is not a problem for another generation, not anymore. That's why on Monday, my administration will release the final version of America's Clean Power Plan, the biggest, most important step we've ever taken to combat climate change. And today we're here to announce America's Clean Power Plan, a plan 2 years in the making and the single most important step America has ever taken in the fight against global climate change. And today, after working with states and cities and power companies, the EPA is setting the first ever nationwide standards to end the limitless dumping of carbon pollution from power plants. Over the next few years, each state will have the chance to put together its own plan for reducing emissions, because every state has a different energy mix. Some generate more of their power from renewables, some from natural gas, or nuclear, or coal. And this plan reflects the fact that not everybody's starting in the same place. So we're giving states the time and the flexibility they need to cut pollution in a way that works for them. And we'll reward the states that take action sooner instead of later, because time is not on our side here. As states work to meet their targets, they can build on the progress that our communities and businesses are already making. A lot of power companies have already begun modernizing their plants, reducing their emissions, and, by the way, creating new jobs in the process. Nearly a dozen states have already set up their own market-based programs to reduce carbon pollution. About half of our states have set energy efficiency targets. More than 35 have set renewable energy targets. Over 1,000 mayors have signed an agreement to cut carbon pollution in their cities. And last week, 13 of our biggest companies, including UPS and Walmart and GM, made bold new commitments to cut their emissions and deploy more clean energy. So the idea of setting standards and cutting carbon pollution is not new. It's not radical. What is new is that starting today, Washington is starting to catch up with the vision of the rest of the country. And by setting these standards, we can actually speed up our transition to a cleaner, safer future. With this Clean Power Plan, by 2030, carbon pollution from our power plants will be 32% lower than it was a decade ago. And the nerdier way to say that is that we'll be keeping 870 million tons of carbon dioxide pollution out of our atmosphere.
Since the beginning of 2015, there's only been 9 days when police in America has not killed a person. Some of those just become statistics, we know nothing of them. Some of those become headlines and we know all about them. But what we don't know is that with 664 people killed by the police since the beginning of 2015, the police force in the United States has become one of the deadliest in the developed world. The Guardian newspaper, operating only with public data and data released by the police, cites a very vivid example of that. In 2015, 19 unarmed black men have been killed so far.
France remains on high alert 6 months after 17 people were killed in terror attacks in Paris. Thousands of soldiers have been deployed across the country in an anti-terror operation.
These soldiers are part of Operation Sentinel, a 7,000-strong anti-terror force deployed across France in the wake of the January terror attacks. Their mission: to reassure the public, to deter attackers and to protect France.
We need to be seen. It's important for the population and for the people we're looking for. And yes, we're ready to act if necessary.
The British government has been questioned over a secret plan to deploy heavily armed troops on the streets in the event of a terror attack. A prominent lawmaker, Baroness Jenny Jones, has described the move as provocative, saying it could potentially endanger the public. The plan, drawn up by police chiefs and discussed by top government officials, was leaked to the media on Friday. Jones, who sits on London's Police and Crime Committee, called the revelation shocking and demanded a parliamentary debate on the issue. The plan, codenamed Operation Temperer, would see more than 5,000 armed personnel in inner cities in case of terror attacks. Last month, more than 1,000 police officers and soldiers staged a mass exercise to test their ability to respond to a gun attack on London.
These were the chaotic scenes as residents of a city in southeastern Venezuela went on the rampage in search of basic food items. People desperate for staples like milk, rice and flour stormed a supermarket warehouse in Guayana City. A 21-year-old man was shot dead during the unrest. Media reports say dozens of people have been arrested. Low oil prices and increasingly dysfunctional currency and price controls have fueled shortages of consumer goods across the country. President Nicolas Maduro says opposition leaders and businesses are responsible, waging an economic war against his government by raising prices and hoarding goods. Critics say it's more the result of a failing state-led economic model. National Guards moved into Guyana to regain control and protect its local businesses.
The discovery of intelligent life doesn't mean that there is another Jesus. The incarnation of the Son of God is a unique event in the history of the universe. God became a man through Jesus in Palestine 2,000 years ago. Maybe tomorrow I'll be proved wrong, but I don't think we will ever meet Mr. Spock, just to give you an example. However, as the years go by, I've understood that this type of research, the search for life in the universe, helps us to understand ourselves.
Ci aiuta a capire noi stessi, da dove veniamo. Qual è il futuro dell'universo?
Where did we come from? What's the future of the universe? What's the future of the earth? In fact, in his last encyclical, the Pope highlighted these uncertainties concerning our future. We don't know if our earth and humanity are unique in the universe.
Il fenomeno umanità è unico nell'universo.
Overnight, extreme weather creating havoc throughout Illinois. Garages completely torn down and streets destroyed. And at the suburban Chicago Music Festival, a horrifying scene. High wind and heavy hail uprooting a tent, collapsing over the crowd.
It was just chaos. There was a man that had apparently got struck by one of the large poles. These poles must be 30, 40 feet tall, and he was laying right next to it.
Ambulances and medics rushing to the scene. 15 people taken to the hospital. 35-year-old Stephen Ninsick killed.
This is horrible. It started hailing and then started pouring, and then before you knew it, the whole tent just went up and over.
And nearby, another devastating collapse. A sports dome that once looked like this, completely destroyed. Nearby, this remarkable scene. Thousands of concert goers from another Chicago music festival, Lollapalooza, evacuated and taken to the streets after severe thunderstorm warnings.
Look at the size of these things!
Golf ball-sized hail pelting Lake Michigan. Beachgoers fleeing the shore as the storm rolls in.
Oh my God!
We gotta get inside. And in Preston, Iowa, a damaging tornado hitting hard. People frantically searching for safety.
Oh man, let's get into the back room here.
Wow, look at that. An incredible view of the tornado destroying the ground below.
Oh my God.
Next to a troubling outbreak of Legionnaire's disease that may be linked to this season's air conditioning because it's summer. At least 71 people have been diagnosed here in New York City with 4 fatalities, but cases have been surging around the country. ABC's Aditi Roy investigates.
Tonight, a growing outbreak of Legionnaire's disease in New York has left 4 dead, dozens sickened, and a community on edge. And now one of the city's top health officials is warning people who live or work near the area where the latest outbreak started could be at risk.
I was about to wait one more day to go to the hospital. And if I would have waited that one more day, I don't think I would have been here right now.
The news comes at a time when Legionnaire's cases have spiked across the country in recent years. The bacteria is spread by breathing in a contaminated vapor, such as from an air conditioner or shower. City officials have linked this outbreak to city cooling towers, and they have all since been cleaned.
It is safe to drink tap water because Legionnaire's disease is an airborne disseminated condition. However, if you work in an environment with an air conditioning unit or you're in close quarters where there's a cooling system and you start to feel sick, it's important to pay attention to that.
Tonight, New York health officials are warning there may be even more cases that pop up this week from this latest outbreak.
Investigators are trying to figure out who bombed 2 churches over the weekend in New Mexico.
Police say the explosive devices were intended to harm people. And now the governor of New Mexico calling whoever set off the bombs a coward, vowing to come after them.
Can you contact the Dasso Bomb Squad?
This morning, the FBI and other federal agencies trying to track down who bombed 2 churches on Sunday in New Mexico. One bomb going off in the middle of a Catholic Mass during communion.
Only a coward would place an explosive device in a place of peace and a place of worship.
The first bomb going off at 8:20 a.m. inside a mailbox near the entrance to the Calvary Baptist Church in Las Cruces. Eyewitnesses say the explosion shook the building.
The impact was so strong, it not only shook the ground and the church, like you see the immediate impression of an earthquake.
Then, less than 4 miles away, around 20 minutes later at 8:40 a.m., another blast, this time at Holy Cross Catholic Church.
This large bang went off, and I could see the papers floating down. I didn't know what was going on.
Monsignor John Anderson about to start passing out communion, not sure what to do.
And all of a sudden I hear, hey, we need everyone out of the church.
Police evacuating both churches, bomb-sniffing dogs brought in. Luckily, no one injured. Investigators are not sure what type of explosives were used, but assume that the 2 bombings are related. But the bigger mystery? Why?
And right now, police are advising people to be on the lookout for anything suspicious at any other churches in that area, but to make sure they personally don't inspect anything, to call 911 if they see any type of device. Guys, it's just so scary. On a Sunday, and in one case in the middle of Mass.
Scorching temperatures sweeping through the Middle East have sparked wildfires in central Syria. With temperatures as high as 43 degrees Celsius or 109 degrees Fahrenheit, the flames have centered around the home suburb of Nasirah, threatening some 1,200 acres of agricultural land. Mayor Habib Watfa says the community is taking action to stop the fires from spreading.
We have firefighting teams on standby in the area. Our firefighters are ready. We are on alert.
Last month, wildfires destroyed at least 2,400 acres of olive groves and orchards, a devastating blow for farmers who needed that harvest as they tried to make ends meet in the war-torn country.
A Palestinian protester died early Saturday, a day after being shot by Israeli forces. He was taking part in protests and was hit in the chest after hurling a firebomb at police. This latest death follows two other killings, one of a Palestinian teenager and of a toddler on Friday, both of which sparked street demonstrations.
من أجل ذلك بالتصدي شهيد حبيب الله وشهيد حبيب الله
The earlier attack, in which a child was burned alive, was carried out by suspected Jewish extremists. In fact, one house was sprayed with graffiti in Hebrew reading "Revenge."
This is the room where 18-month-old Ali was found dead, and we spoke to the ambulance worker who removed his body from here, and the way he described what was left of the baby was as a lump of coal.
Relatives have laid pictures of Ali on the burned-out floor of the bedroom. He hadn't finished his milk yet. Their neighbour's house was also set on fire, but no one was home at the time. The attackers left behind a message. It says "Revenge" in Hebrew. Ali's parents and 4-year-old brother have been taken to an Israeli hospital. Israel's been quick to condemn this attack in the harshest terms.
The government of Israel unequivocally condemns this heinous crime, this act of terrorism. We will fight terrorism, we will defeat terrorism, no matter who the perpetrators are.
But the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas blames the Israeli government for this attack.
When the Israeli government encourages settlements, when they build settlements in the West Bank and Jerusalem, they encourage flocks of settlers to do what they do every day.
People here in the village say the same thing, that attacks happen often, but they've never had such an outcome. Hundreds showed up for baby Ali's funeral, his parents in too critical a condition to lay their son to rest. The Israeli government has said it will bring what it calls terrorists to justice.
We're shocked, we're outraged, we condemn this, there is zero tolerance for terrorism. We have to calm the spirits and recommit ourselves to our joint battle against terrorism and extremism.
במאמץ להגיע ולהניח את ידינו על המחבלים הרוצחים הללו באשר הם.
But Palestinian authorities believe the roots of the violence actually lie in the Israeli government's continuing expansion and occupation, something that has been echoed even by the United Nations itself.
The absence of a political process and Israel's illegal settlement policy, as well as the harsh and unnecessary practice of demolishing Palestinian houses, have given rise to violent extremisms on both sides.